Indonesia is one of the largest archipelagic countries in the world, with more than 17,000 islands that spread over an area of more than 2 million kilometer squares. Indonesia is host to several unique ecosystems containing a large number of diverse species. At least 10% of the world's flowering species, which counts to over 25,000 species, flourish in Indonesia. There are also 12% of the world's mammals, 16% of reptiles, 17% of birds, 6% of amphibians, and over 45% of fishes, all of which are parts of the nation's lush biodiversity. In order to preserve its biodiversity, which also contributes hugely to the world, Indonesia has taken significant steps in accordance to the national and global target on biodiversity framework. The government has allocated more than 500 units of protected areas spread throughout the country, with the total coverage area of 22 million hectares terrestrial and 20 million marine protected area. Because of its uniqueness and universal values, 6 protected areas are recognized as World Heritage Sites, 16 Biosphere Reserves, 7 Ramsar Sites, and 7 ASEAN Heritage Sites. Many studies and researches has also been conducted to identify plants and animals to assess their potential uses for medicine, food, energy, and biocontrol for chemical hazard. Some community-driven activities such as ecotourism has also contributed to the effort to preserve Indonesia's biodiversity, which also encouraged cooperation among local stakeholders. The results are heartening. By 2019, Indonesia has been able to increase the population of endemic and priority species. Communities have also enjoyed benefits from this improved environment through ecotourism, environmental services, and other significant conditions, which contribute to their quality of life as a whole. There is little doubt that Indonesia's vast biodiversity plays a hugely significant role in reducing the impacts of climate change. By preserving its biodiversity and its ecosystems, Indonesia can help support the entire planet's sustainability and ensure a better future for all humankind.
Sejarah Fakultas Kehutanan. UGM resmi didirikan pada tanggal 19 Desember 1949 dan merupakan universitas yang bersifat nasional. Selain itu, UGM juga berperan sebagai pengemban Pancasila dan sebagai universitas pembina di Indonesia. Pada saat didirikan, UGM hanya memiliki 6 fakultas dan salah satu di antaranya adalah Fakultas Pertanian. Dalam perkembangan selanjutnya, melalui Surat Keputusan Menteri Perguruan Tinggi dan Ilmu Pengetahuan Nomor 99 Tahun 1963, Fakultas Pertanian dan Kehutanan UGM terpisah menjadi 3 fakultas, yaitu Fakultas Pertanian, Fakultas Teknologi Pertanian, dan Fakultas Kehutanan. Dengan demikian, Fakultas Kehutanan UGM secara resmi dinyatakan berdiri pada tanggal 17 Agustus 1963. Dekan pertama Fakultas Kehutanan UGM adalah Profesor Insinyur Sudarwono Harjosudiro. Berdasarkan SK Direktur Jenderal Pendidikan Tinggi, SK Dirjen Dikti Nomor 163 Tahun 2007 tentang pengaturan program studi dan Surat Keputusan Rektor Nomor 89 Tahun 2010 tanggal 1 Februari 2010 mensahkan perubahan keempat program studi di Fakultas Kehutanan menjadi satu dengan nama Program Studi Kehutanan. Program Studi Kehutanan terdiri dari 4 bagian, yaitu 1. Departemen Manajemen Hutan, 2. Departemen Silvikultur, 3. Departemen Teknologi Hasil Hutan, dan 4. Departemen Konservasi Sumber Daya Hutan. Di Fakultas Kehutanan terdapat Dewan Perwakilan Mahasiswa atau DPM yang berperan sebagai badan legislatif mahasiswa dan lembaga eksekutif mahasiswa atau LEM. Kemudian terdapat 4 himpunan mahasiswa minat. Di antaranya yaitu Keluarga Mahasiswa Manajemen Hutan atau KMMH, Himpunan Mahasiswa Budidaya atau HIMABA, Family of Forest Product Technology atau Foresttech, dan Family of Forest Conservation atau Forestation. Di samping itu, terdapat Badan Semi Otonom atau BSO yang meliputi organisasi pencinta alam atau Mapala Silvagama, Komunitas Seni Kehutanan atau KSK, Keluarga Mahasiswa Islam Kehutanan atau KMIK, dan Forestry Study Club atau FSC. Sedangkan International Forestry Student Association atau IFSA dan Keluarga Mahasiswa Kristen Kehutanan atau BONITA termasuk ke dalam non-BSO.
FFI bekerja di Indonesia sejak tahun 1996. Itu awalnya bersama dengan LIPI untuk melakukan penelitian-penelitian, terutama penelitian terkait dengan harimau Sumatera. Kemudian berkembang, kemudian kita ada kerjasama dengan Kementerian Lingkungan Hidup dan Kehutanan, waktu itu Kementerian Kehutanan, terkait dengan pengelolaan spesies-spesies yang dilindungi. Tantangan terbesarnya adalah kata kuncinya sebenarnya kepedulian. Ya, kata kuncinya adalah kepedulian. Kalau semua sudah peduli, maka secara umum sebenarnya pekerjaannya sudah done. Tapi masalahnya itu, bagaimana kita mendorong semua pihak untuk peduli menyelamatkan planet kita ini bersama-sama. Itu tantangan yang paling besar. Kearifan lokal masyarakat juga sangat penting di sana. Jadi di lain pihak kita melihat ada ancaman, tapi di lain pihak juga kita melihat ada kearifan masyarakat untuk menjaga hutannya. Nah, itu yang kita coba untuk dorong untuk dikembangkan di sana. Planet kita ini yang sustaining the planet, itu jangka panjang paling panjang kita. Jadi itu tujuan jangka panjang keberadaan FFI. Bukan hanya di Indonesia, tapi di dunia.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Selamat pagi, Bapak, Ibu, beserta rekan-rekan yang saya hormati. I hope that everyone is doing well today. Welcome to the 4th Symposium of Wildlife Ecology, Conservation and Management International Conference, or WECMIC. Let me introduce myself. My name is Ratasha Kana Azahra, and I will be your MC for this session. It is my utmost pleasure to be able to be an MC for today's discussion. So the theme of Symposium 4 is Technology Optimization to address biodiversity management and conservation issues such as surveying, identification, policymaking, and law enforcement. In today's abstract presentation, we'll be joined by 8 presenters. Allow me to read our presenters for today. First, we have Sasha Sepastika Suryo Metaram from Direktorat Perencanaan Kawasan Konservasi. And then we have Devia Ariesta from Pajajaran University. We also have Kiki Hadi Firmansyah from Balai Taman Nasional Gunung Merbabu. We also have Will D.V. Poneke from Bureau of Bogani Nami Watabone National Park. And then we have Oki Hidayat from Balai Taman Nasional Manupo Tanah Danu Laiwangi Wangameti. And then we have Dana Gira from IPB University. We also have Misbah Satria Giri from Balai TNGHS and Victor H. Montalvo from National University of Costa Rica. This session will be chaired by the Honorable Mr. Irenda Rajawali, who is a data analyst. He also he was also a PhD researcher in political ecology in the University of Bremen and Center for Tropical Marine Ecology. And he was also a researcher in political ecology at Bonn University, Germany, and is currently a PhD candidate in complexity science at ISCTE University at Lisbon, Portugal. Before we start the presentation, please allow me to read the presentation guidelines for this session. So, please hit that participants are required to be present in the waiting room 15 minutes before the session starts. Participants must activate their camera during their presentation. The presenter's camera should be at eye level, and presenters should look directly into the camera when speaking. Presentations should be presented in English. Presenters are responsible for ensuring a smooth network connection. Participants will be given host access to operate their material at the time of their presentation, and the chair of each session will introduce the presenters. For abstract presentation participants, please know that each abstract presentation participants are allocated 20 minutes, 12 minutes for the presentation, and 8 minutes of question and answers. Participants are limited to 3 questions, which will be selected by the chair session. So without further ado, let's invite our chair session for today. Mr. Irawan? Mr. Rajawali, are you there?
Hello. Yeah. Good morning. Good evening for Victor.
The time is yours, sir.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mas Asya, and then thank you for the opportunity and to let me let's say lead these sessions. So as mentioned, well, first of all, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and for everybody, hope you all are fine and healthy. And yes. We are looking forward for our sessions. This sessions is going to be about the technology and technology optimizations to address biodiversity management and conservation issues. So surveying, identifications, policymaking, etc., etc. Personally, and I believe all the attendees are looking forward to learn, to hear, and to discuss with you. As mentioned before, every one of you or presenter has 20 minutes all in all, including questions and answers. So we hope that every presenter can squeeze their presentations very sharp, very to the point, within 12 minutes or so. And I will give you, let's say, 2 signs. If it reach 10 minutes and if it reach 11 minutes, I'll give you signs. And I hope that we have a very fruitful presentations. We have 2.5 hours. We have 8 presenters so far. And for attendees, for participants, if you already have some questions in your mind, you can always type the questions in the chat box in the chat rooms. So then the committee will help me to, let's say, to choose the questions or to prepare the questions. Then, you know, when the presenters finish the presentations, you don't have to search for the chat box. Or if there is still sometimes, I will give every presenter also a chance to receive direct questions. So without further ado, thank you again for attending. I will invite the first speaker. We're looking forward, Ms. Sasha Surometaram. She's replacing, I guess, Mr. Iding from the Directorate of Conservation's Area Planning of our of Indonesian Ministry of Environment and Ministry. Time and floors is yours, Ms. Sasha. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Irendra. First, let me share my screen. Hold on. Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Perfectly. Thank you.
Okay, great. Good morning, everyone. I'm here to represent the team in this study. I'm going to present our finding in this study, which is a multi-species conservation and spatial modeling approach in Sumatra's priority conservation landscape in a management perspective view. So we know that Indonesia has a lot of conservation landscapes and protected areas spread all over the archipelago, but several landscapes are considered as World Heritage Sites. And in Sumatra, there's sites that's what we call Tropical Rainforest Heritage of Sumatra, which is TRHS. And these sites were proposed by the government to UNESCO as Indonesia's contribution in maintaining the outstanding value of biodiversity and landscapes of Sumatra. These sites include Bukit Barisan Selatan National Park, Rinci Seblat National Park, and Gunung Leuser National Park. Here, raw data of species distribution and detections are already available, but many are not processed yet. Government, especially the Technical Unit on Natural Resources and Ecosystem Conservation, or maybe we're more familiar with the term UPT-KSDAE, mostly have done surveys, inventory, and other data collection in the field, which are very potential to conduct a comprehensive, standardized study that can be used on landscape and national level for science and management purposes. And from those field surveys, we know that camera trap surveys has been conducted in national parks as part of their wildlife monitoring program. And from this data, we can obtain presence-absence data from species, which can be used for occupancy analysis. Note that occupancy analysis taking account the imperfect detection. Therefore, it calculates the probability of species occupying certain area, even though we didn't find any of them when collecting data. So why using occupancy analysis? It's because we know that species target that we want to look at has a large roaming area and we have limited resource. So we need a method that is relatively quick and easy to use. And occupancy analysis is part of the species distribution modeling. Using the base is the GLMM, Generalized Linear Mixed Models. And it uses a certain resolution of raster. And it's proven that it's robust and applicable. And this kind of study has previously been done before. And this is one of them. It's the study using a camera trap survey in Kerinci Seblat National Park. And this kind of study, we want to replicate it in a bigger scope. So we're going to, replicate the study in tropical rainforest heritage sites. So this is our study. The method we use is the single season, single species occupancy for the analysis. And then these are the environmental covariates we use. These are the camera trap data source, which is from the Bukit Barisan Selatan, Kerinci Seblat, and Gunung Leuser with these surveys, a lot of surveys we put in the analysis. And then the species target, we pick Sumatran tiger and its prey. And why we pick prey, not just the tiger, is because the existence of tiger influenced by their prey. So they're very strongly correlated. And these are the list of preys we included in the analysis. And the software we use Microsoft Excel, GIS, and we use R for analysis. And these are the packages we use. And these are the efforts of our study. We could say that this is a huge research collaboration with tons of effort putting in the data collection in the field. You see that how many camera stations we put, and then how many days camera actives, and how many personals involved, and so on. And these are the environmental covariates we use. The data obtained from the satellite image data and generated from IPSDH PKTL and also Rupa Bumi Indonesia, and then clipped based off the area of interest. And these are the environmental covariates we use. And the grid size we use, the raster we use, is 250 meters. So it's quite small. And here are the results. So these are the occupancy prediction across landscape for each species. Oops, sorry. So for Bukit Barisan Selatan, the tiger occupancy in this picture is higher in the middle and the southern part. In Kerinci Seblat, the tiger and wild boar occupancy estimates are higher outside the national park boundaries. And in Gunung Leuser, tiger occupancy spread almost equally around the area, but the deer occupancy are the lowest amongst other species. And we also found that Sumatran Sero occupancy are very low in Bukit Barisan Selatan and Kerinci Seblat. And then after we calculate the occupancy prediction of each species from each landscape, we then overlap all of this prediction map into one. So it will look like this. And this overlapping map of each species are based on the mean value. There are two schemes for the overlapping the map. One is using the first quanta or the 25% percentile as the threshold that we consider the species exists in the area. And the other one is using the median. So if the occupancy prediction, if the number fall below the threshold, we consider it as if the species doesn't use the area that much. So it doesn't exist in, we consider it as somewhat doesn't exist in the area. So we exclude the data. And then here we look at how many species with high enough occupancy in each grid. Because the grid is quite small, so we could see that the colors the scale is quite fine. And for the Bukit Barisan Selatan National Park, we could see that there's a higher diversity in the middle and southern part, possibly due to the more hilly area in the northern part. There's more mountains in the north part. And for Kerinci sebelah, there are more four species occupied the area inside the national park, but there are also a high number of species occupying area outside the national park. And for Loser, a high number of species occupying near the national park boundaries. This is because of it might be contribute hugely because of the elevation factor, because the national park in the middle part is the mountainous area. So we know that camera trap surveys are very common practice in wildlife monitoring. So we offer this method of analysis using occupancy modeling as an important option for protected area management. With this, we could assess which area is used by certain species. Like the previous slides, we can see that the green area is the more highly used by a lot of species instead of the red ones. And using the occupancy modeling, not only the presence data were analyzed, but also the absence data were also take account. Unlike other methods who use presence only data, because using occupancy analysis, the absence data will take account, so it's kind of more accurate. And in the last decade, patch occupancy method is an emerging method which has been approved scientifically and has been widely used by practitioners. With this, so we could determine which area is a priority or need more attention, or maybe you need more protection, or maybe we could use it as a base to determine which monitoring site we can use to put camera trap survey or other surveys in the protected area. Secondly, since this kind of study is a collaborative work between institutions, this could be a good media for strengthening interaction in building trust and knowledge co-production between individual and institutions. And since wildlife inventory and monitoring are the core business of protected area management, which is managing wildlife, we acknowledge that government agencies, especially the technical unit on natural resources and ecosystem conservation, the UPT-KSDAE, are not scientific authority. That's why highly skilled personnel in advanced data analysis are usually limited in that sector. So we strongly recommend a research collaboration with research institution, university practitioners, or maybe other research partners. And in the future, maybe establishing some sort of a strong science hub, which is the output of collaboration and knowledge co-production between government and researchers or practitioners. It's a good thing to support science-based decision-making support system in the landscape and national level. And it will be very essential. So in the decision-making, for the management level, it could be science-based. And we hope that this kind of study being conducted, it will strengthen the foundation of science-based management in biodiversity conservation and protected area in Indonesia. And here we would like to thank these beautiful people, Bu Siti as the minister, and the directors like Bu Indra, Pak Ismanto, Pak Pranoto, Pak Jeffrey, and partners, and all staff that contributed in this study, because without them, this study would never happen. So yeah, thank you. I think that's all from my presentation, and I would like to give it back to you, to Mr. Irendra. Thank you.
Thank you, Bu Sasha, for the very sharp and to the point and on-time presentations. Interesting. If I can, thank you very much. And if I can get some points, then I would say, then your works, your very interesting works together is trying to bring the data into actions. So
Yes.
the data into insights and into actions. That's, I think, the underlining message that I can get so far. Of course, there are more.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, you also pinpoint or mention the importance of having the ability to transform the data into insight, probably, or knowledge. Yeah, Ibu Sasha.
Yes.
Then,
Yes.
for that reasons, there is a need to collaborate with different, let's say, actors, different institutions. That's what I can get so far. I will open the floor. We have 5 minutes. I will open the floors if anyone wants to ask something, including the presenters, the panelists. Please raise your hand, or please just ask. Anyone? Otherwise, then I would use my power to ask you, Sasha.
Yes, of course.
So, how do you see it? How do you see to scaling up this approach, Sasha? Like you
Mm-hmm.
let's say your team and you focused on tiger and its prey,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And do you see any, or do you have any insights in your mind and your team's minds about scaling up to another species? Thank you.
Yes, we were talking about it, that maybe we could apply this studies in other species, such as maybe in elephants and maybe in rhinos, because it's basically it's applicable to other species. Of course, it's just it depends on the what is it, like the survey design, I guess. The survey design is supposed to accommodate the species ecology. So there are some assumptions to be fulfilled, something like that. So yeah, it's very possible to replicate this kind of study to other species.
Thank you, Sasha. Still, we have some minutes. We have 4 minutes. Anyone want to ask? Want to, give confirmations or even refute? Probably. That's what science is about, right?
Yeah.
Falsifications, refuting, which makes us progressing. Anyone? Otherwise, I will also ask my second question, Ibu Sasha.
Okay. Go ahead.
How do you see combining your methods or involving AI or machine learning in your methods, or in the methods that you develop with your team? Machine learning and artificial intelligence. I mean, how do you see it? Thank you very much. Or do you have any ideas to go that far? Thank you.
Well, we think about it because, I mean, we have the analysis method in R, we have the script and so on. And we think that if we can replicate it using AI, and if it's like, what's it like? It will give more like access, and it will be easier for people to replicate the study. Well, it will be great but we for now we're still like working on the analysis, like making it what do you call it, like strengthening the base first, and then if we already have a strong base of what we want in the analysis and what kind of output we want, and then maybe we want to go to that path, something like that. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ibu Sasha. Very sharp. Anyone? We still have 2 minutes before the next speaker. Or if anyone has questions to Ibu Sasha later on and comes up in your mind, then just type it in the...
I think there's a question in the Q&A, is it?
Right, please.
What is the disturbance of the presence of Sumatran tiger prey in camera traps?
If there's any disturbances on probably images or whatever.
What the disturbance? Oh, you mean like what makes it not captured in camera traps, or what makes it not want to be in the area, or not?
Probably the challenges with Bu Sasha of capturing those tigers. I don't know.
I see. Well, usually like the challenges, it's more yes, the people activity, it's part of the challenges, because we know that inside the area, even though it's a protected area, we still find some snare traps and other threats for the tigers and prey. That's one. And then also, if the prey threatened, the tigers also threatened by it, because the tiger's lives also influenced greatly by the prey. So if the prey is gone from the area, it means that the tiger doesn't have anything to eat. So it will be slowly extinct in the area as well, because there's nothing to eat there. So yeah, it's a concerning problem as well.
Okay. Thank you, Bu Sasha, for your presentations, your answers, and
thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We'll discuss it later. I'll give the floor now to our second presenter, Ibu Devia. The floors in the time is yours, Ibu. You have 20 minutes all in all, but with questions and answer. I hope it's a fruitful discussions also with it. Floors and time is yours, Ibu Devia.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Irendra. First, let me share my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen, Mr.?
Yes, very clear. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so hello everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm here to represent my team. My name is Devia Riesta, and I'm a biology student at the University of Pajajaran. I would like to thank the committee first for giving me this opportunity to present to you some of our work today. So this is my oral presentation for our study, which is called Distribution of Slow Lorises in Indonesia based on digital information. So here's a brief overview of this presentation structure. I will first provide you with some background into this study before I move on to my objective, methods, results, and conclusions. Slow lorises are protected animals that are threatened due to habitat degradation and illegal trade. In Indonesia, there are at least 6 species of slow lorises distributed across the islands of Sumatra, Java, and Kalimantan. Slow lorises are commonly reported in habitat outside of protected areas, such as in gardens and farmland. While lorises that are outside protected areas are typically more prone to danger. For example, in more disturbed habitats, there may be a higher risk of being killed by predators when crossing between forest fragments along the ground or electrocuted while climbing on power lines. There's also a higher probability of encounters with humans, which will make them more vulnerable to illegal hunting. So lorises that have been forcefully removed from their habitat will end up along threat distribution routes, in cages as pets, or in rescue facilities before possibly being released back to the wild. However, in many cases, rescued lorises are unable to be returned to the wild because of their unhealthy condition, often related to their teeth having been removed by traders or improper nutrition. So one strategy to reduce the threat of extinction in slow lorises is to identify the priority areas to be targeted for conservation based on the distribution of slow lorises, both inside and outside conservation areas. The use of digital information in conservation has been carried out in some studies, but the full potential of this method has still not been reached. There's a subfield in conservation science called digital conservation that uses novel data sources such as social media data and other large data sets to understand and potentially mitigate the biodiversity crisis. In order to identify priority areas across Indonesia, this study used data obtained from digital sources of information. So using digital information, the objective of this study was to identify conservation priority areas by obtaining records of slow lorises in and outside of their natural habitat and assessing any causes of displacement. The data used in this study was in the form of secondary data with location coverage throughout Indonesia. For the methods of this study, we used 3 different data sources, which are news, community reports, and social media. The news data was collected between 2016 to 2021 using a web scraping method that referenced in Oliver et al. 2020 on how to utilize the internet as a data source using the help of tools Google and data miner. The keyword we used here was Kukang. The database used in this study featured community or public reports about slow lorises that were made to the Kukangku platform from 2019 to 2021. Kukangku is an Indonesian campaign platform dedicated to slow loris conservation. Meanwhile, to check the validity of the data, we used a triangulation data approach, which involved utilizing BKSDA social media publications between the period from 2017 to 2021 as a comparable data source. To analyze the data, we used the help of data visualization, Google Data Studio. Here's the references we used for our methods, and we obtained public reports from platform Kukangku and social media data from BKSDA Instagram. So after the articles that are duplicates or non-related to loris conservation were removed from a total of 1,021 news articles, we were left to 381 news articles, 256 community reports, and 202 BKSDA Instagram posts that talks about slow lorises conservation activities. All 3 data sources reveal that slow lorises were reported to be present in 20 provinces, but were mainly concentrated in West Java and Lampung. Submission and law enforcement were highest in West Java, whereas conservation activities such as evacuation and release were greatest in Lampung. Based on online news data, a total of 256 locations of loris distributions were found. This map shows the red spot, which highlights the provinces which have the highest loris distributions. Based on BKSDA social media publications, a total of 172 locations were collected, while based on community report, a total of 183 locations were collected. Submission reports that were made to the Kukangku platform are generally obtained from Java, Sumatra, and Kalimantan. Although there is one report that was obtained from a region that is not the distribution of lorises in Indonesia, which is South Sulawesi, you can see here. It is suspected that this is the result of illegal trade from the area of loris distribution to Sulawesi. In West Java, as many as 91% of loris discoveries are found in residential areas, gardens, and roads, while in Lampung, as many as 66% are found in residential areas, gardens, and roads, while the 30% comes from the evacuation program that were conducted by PLN to avoid loris climbing on power lines, which will lead to them being electrocuted and resulted in power cuts. We also did an analysis of the trends in slow loris news, publications in online articles, and social media. The first graphic is about the news trends, which shows that law enforcement activities, represented by the orange bar, remained constant since 2016, while there's a significant increase up to 187% in loris submission, evacuation, and release in 2019, represented by sky blue, yellow, and pink bar. Submission is a case in which the public knowingly and voluntarily submits or reports their pet lorises after learning that they are a protected animal. The second graphic is about BKSDA social media publication trends, which also shows a significant increase in submission and evacuation in the year of 2019, while law enforcement is decreasing in publications. It should be borne in mind that data extracted from social media can be heavily biased towards specific user groups and geographic regions, hence why the number of law enforcement is much lesser and decreasing based on the social media publication trends. So moving on to the conclusions, first for the examination of results, based on the high number of distributions, our findings highlight Lampung and West Java as the priority areas that can be targeted for conservation. The fact that Lampung and West Java were the two provinces that had a high distribution of lorises from all three data sources indicates the effectiveness of the collaborations between BKSDA and NGOs in the province. Community reports forms collaboration between the community and BKSDA, which is bridged by NGOs. Where in this case, Yayasan IAR Indonesia is a sole loris conservation NGO that has been actively working in both provinces. This number could also occur because of better law enforcement and higher levels of human encounters in West Java. This high level of human encounters is suspected due to the threat of habitat change and the transfer of forest land into gardens or settlements. There's also this special case in Lampung. The higher number of lorises distribution in Lampung occurred because of the number of lorises evacuated by PLN, or Indonesia's electric company, from power lines. There were many cases of lorises climbing on power lines without insulation that resulted in the loris being electrocuted and causing a short circuit that led to power cuts. To avoid this, some local branches of PLN in Lampung conducted regular surveillance operations on power lines in areas that were prone to natural disturbances. From the results of this operation, PLN encountered a number of lorises that needs to be evacuated and directly released into another area so that the release rate in Lampung was high. We cannot also ignore the importance of digital education. Digital information also influences the community to report slow loris finding in their areas. Hence, the significant increase in the graphic in submission and evacuations in 2019. Based on community statements in submission and evacuation news articles, many of them decided to hand over the lorises after reading on the internet that loris were protected animals. This speaks volumes to the effectiveness of digital education. Okay, so for the implications, the increase in public awareness shows the good impact of collaborations between government and non-governmental agencies in terms of loris conservation. Therefore, it is hoped that these collaborations can be maintained for the sustainability of lorises in the future. In addition to the high number of distributions, areas that have few reports of lorises can also be targeted as priority areas. This is because it is feared that the area is recorded to have a much less distribution of lorises only due to the lack of education or law enforcement or publication about low-risk conservation activities. Therefore, a future study that talks deeper into this matter needs to be conducted. Okay, so this is my presentation for today. Here are the references we used for this study. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Ibu Devia. A very, very interesting and I think useful and important works you do and you presented. My take on your presentations is that the online and offline activities are both important for for tackling these illegalities or tackling these conservation issues, and you use methods, digital methods on conservation, which is interesting. So we have 5-6 minutes. If anyone wants to post their questions or needs some clarifications or even refute, please feel free. I open the floor for some for questions or everything. We have 6 minutes. Anyone? If I will wait a little bit more, I have a question actually. Anyone? Okay, then I will use this chance to ask you, Ibu Devia, which is very interesting. It is very interesting, and I'm wondering, I'm really wondering, first of all, how you would go far with crowdsourcing, like the crowd as a source of your data, right? You mentioned about news, but you also mentioned about online social media or crowds, right? How would you develop your research further into this with this approach of crowdsourcing? So thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question, Mr. Irendra. Let me check first. The develop of this study, is that the question?
Yes. How would you develop further your studies using the crowds as a source, crowdsourcing principles? Yeah.
Okay. Actually, currently I'm working on to develop this study as well for my study in college. So I'm interested to develop this study into talk deeper about the strategy, the conservation strategy. So we're not only talking about the locations, but we also talk about the efforts conservation in solar resources and what we could do in the future based on this digital information and the potential of the data overall. Maybe I would like to develop the study into that matter, but we haven't really talked about it really deeper yet, but I have already discussed it, the background and the general picture of the study.
Thank you, Bu Devia. Very interesting study and important, I think. And good luck for your study. We still have actually 2 minutes before moving to the next speaker, which will be Mr. Oki from National Park of Manupiu Tanah Daru and Layuangi Wangameti. Anyone? Okay, thank you, Bu Devia, again. But please, everybody, if you have any questions that come up later to Ibu Devia or the previous presenter, Ibu Sasha, please feel free to type it in the comment sections or question and answer questions. So now let me move to the next speakers. Our third speakers today, Mr. Oki from the National Park of Layuangi Wangameti. You have 20 minutes all in all, Pak, with questions and answer. If it's possible, 12 to 15 minutes for presentations. The floors in times is yours, Pak. Looking forward. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Irendra. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. So I'm going to present our study in spatial-based modeling of Sumba Hornbill and Sitruk Sumba, Indonesia. Okay, the Sumba Hornbill is a large endemic birds to Sumba Island. It lives in evergreen primary forests, monsoon forests, and forests along riparian forests. This endemic Sumba Hornbill is now listed in the IUCN Red List as a vulnerable and in CITES Appendix 2. Under national regulation, the species is protected under regulation of Minister of Environment and Forestry number B20 2018. And then for the citron crested cockatoo, or people in Sumba call it Sumba cockatoo, is a critically endangered bird whose population has declined due to the habitat loss and also illegal trapping for the cage bird trade. 1992 survey in Sumba estimated for citron crested cockatoo, the number is less than 2,000 individuals. And by the survey 2012, the estimated had dropped to the 563. Together with the other subspecies of the yellow-crested cockatoo, it's listed in Appendix 1 of the CITES list. Consequently, international trade is strongly regulated, and trade for this bird species is illegal. Sumba hornbill and the orange-crested citron-crested cockatoo are the flagship species of the Sumba Island. This endemic bird has a limited distribution and relatively low population. Its extent is now only can be found in the very good forest area and also fragmented in several forest blocks. One of which is Matalawan National Park. Matalawan National Park is a merger of the two national parks, Manupeu Tanadaru and also Wangi Wangameti in 2016. The management of Matalawan National Park area is carried out with the vision that refers to the general policy of forestry development, as well as the duties and function carried out by the Matalawan National Park. The vision of management Matalawan National Park is Matalawan National Park becomes a center for the conservation of living natural resources and ecosystem on Sumba Island, and their use for the welfare of the community. In relation to the management of the flagship animals, to realize this vision, Matalawan National Park has set to the mission: 1, ensuring the maintenance of ecological processes in the area, so that its function as a life support system area can run optimally. And 2, ensuring the maintenance of genetic diversity and ecosystem types within Matalawan National Park. To realize the vision and mission of the national park, a mature and accurate strategy is needed based on the scientific and also evidence-based principle. So monitoring the population and habitat of these two iconic bird species in Sumba Island has been carried out since the establishment of the national park. Several survey, studies, and research related to the Sumba hornbill and citron-crested cockatoo have also been conducted by various institutions, such as research institution, university, and also NGO. In the last 10 years, several topics that have been studied include breeding and nesting ecology, and then habitat characteristic and preferences, composition preference, and habitat preferences. That aspect has never been explored comprehensively in spatial condition of the habitat. The aspect that has never been explored, the spatial approach was chosen because it's able to answer various questions regarding habitat condition using limited resources. The primary data that needed are points of presence of animals that have been collected over a certain period of time and habitat component or variables obtained using spatial analysis. Furthermore, the two data sets were processed using the ecological niche modeling approach and species distribution through maximum entropy. Spatial modeling data processing using MaxN super animal presence point data. Spatial presence point data to be processed is MaxN will be better if it has a high quantity and it's evenly distributed in the study location. If the point of presence tend to be cluster, it's necessary to do thinning or beforehand, or we call it clarifying, so that the resulting spatial modeling output is more optimal. Environmental variables that are free from multicollinearity and evenly distributed species present points are then processed in following stage. First one, displaying the response curve of the variables to the point present of the species, and then running a jackknife to the measure to level of influence of the variables environment to species present point, and then save MaxN output in logistic and SG format, set random test percentage to 30% and tick random set column. The next step is set replicates to 10 times, and then set the iteration process to the bootstrap, and finally set the maximum iteration to 5,000 so that the process can produce algorithm with sufficient to produce the desired output. Okay, this is the result, a total of 220 point of presence of Sumba hornbill, and then 276 point of presence in Sumba kukato were obtained through the survey from Matalan National Park during the period. However, data used for analysis were 41 points of presence of the Sumba hornbill and 59 points of presence of the Sumba kukato, which were obtained by verifying using HR toolbox 2. And this is the result of the multicollinearity. We can also in this table for the variable distance for settlement and variable name distance from hotspot can be omitted because they are already represented by variable surface of the temperature. And also for the citron crested kukato, variable distance from settlement also can be omitted because it can be represented by variable distance from farms. And then variable elevation can be omitted because it's already represented by variable surface temperature. And variable distance from the hotspot can be omitted because it's already represented by variable distance from the road. And this is the result for the area under the curve. The IUC value for modeling Sumba hornbill and Sumba kukato is 0.898 and is classified as having a fairly high accuracy. And then an IUC value below 1.5 means the model cannot be accepted, whereas if the IUC value is 0.5 to 0.7, then the model has a fairly good occurrence value, oral accuracy. And if the IUC value is 0.7 to 0.9, then the model has moderate accuracy. And if the IUC value is more than 0.9, then the model have high accuracy. And this is the result for the Jackknife analysis that show the training gain show the importance of each variable using training data 70% and then using test data 30% randomly selected from the data, and then IUC show the contribution of each environmental variable. And this is contribution for each variable to the model. We can see here distance from the forest edge, it has the largest contribution to the model. And this is the result for the max and soil processing are divided into 3 classes with equal intervals, namely low suitability, and then medium suitability, and then high suitability. The modeling result for the Sumba Kukatu range from 0.0000183 to 0.9. The value of the modeling result is then divided based on the number classes and is presented in the table, as we can see here. And then this is for the citron crested cockatoo, whereas the modeling result range from 0.00001 to 0.9. The value of the modeling result is then divided by the number of classes and represent in the table. As we can see here, the low suitability is 5.77%, and then for the high is 3.5%. A total of 220 percentage points of Sumba hornbill were overlaid with the established habitat suitability class model, and then as a result, 41 points were in low suitability class, and then 81.6% were in medium and also in high suitability class. The model can also be accepted if the validation point more than 80% is in the medium and high suitability class. And then for citron crested cockatoo, if as many as 276 percentage points of the citron are overlaid with the habitat suitability model that has been formed, they are 15% in low suitability and then 84% in medium and high suitability. The model can be accepted with the validation point more than 80% in medium and high suitability. This is the result of the area and also the map from our modeling. And then that modeling has some implication on management of these 2 iconic birds in Matalawan National Park. Habitat management intervention can be focused on the area of Manupeu Tanah Daru, whereas the Kokur, Watumblar, and Manurara forest block, and also in Laiwangi Wangameti in 3 forest block, Bila, Praingkareha, and Mahaniwa forest block. And to improve distribution map for both species from the presence only data should also be followed by follow up by a continuous survey or monitoring using permanent descent. It's also important to survey the area that never been visited. And also based on the field observation in period 2011 to 2014, the cockatoo also look active and regularly visit the border area of the national park. This is because the availability of the food source is the main reason why cockatoos like to visit the border area or buffer zone. This area must also be priority for management, especially in terms of securing the area considering high potential threats to the existence of this bird. Okay, this is all our presentation. Feel free to have a question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pak Oki, for your very interesting presentations, and I believe it's very important as well. And we have 8 minutes for questions and answers, actually. And then if I may say something about your approach, your studies, then it's you're showing us how important it is modeling or making the spatial model of these distributions of hornbills, and then how it will be helpful for us to decide what activities can be further done, right? So that's what I can get in mind. And then please, we have we have 7 minutes actually for questions and answers. Anybody? I'll open the floor. There is one question, Sparky, actually, in the question and answers chat box. He or she, the Ibu asked, Ibu Bayu Vita asked, what are the most difficult problems on your research? What's the challenges, Pak Oki? what's the most difficult ones that you face? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So as we know, these two iconic birds live in the Gallery Forest, which is between the two mountains. So the area survey is quite difficult for the team, and also there's so many obstacles. For example, we have to go into the how can see the weather is also during the survey, it's always rainy, so it's makes the surveys more difficult for us.
Thank you very much, Pak. Anyone else want to pose some questions or ask for clarifications, confirmations, or refute? We still have 5 minutes to go. Meanwhile, while waiting for the other questions, permit me to ask you the questions, Pak. Okay. So, do you think of? Well, first questions is how do you observe this one? So your walk, I can imagine you're walking, your teams are walking and trying to identify the hornbills visually, right? So, or you probably can explain more on that one. And the second one is following that questions. My questions would be, how do you see the further research? How do you see the further approach? If there is anything in your mind and your team's mind to use technology, for example, IoT, Internet of Things, gitu, Pak Oki, for your methods. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. We use look and see method for in searching of the cockatoo and hornbill, and also with an information from the locals where the cockatoo and the hornbill that can be found. And also we have several several sites that permanent sites for the observation of these two iconic birds. So we always go to that site and then monitoring the birds. And then for the next study, we still think that cockatoo in Matalawa, especially Panadaru area, it's separated, and this population is population divided and cannot, for example, the cockatoo from the Laiwangi cannot breed with the cockatoo from the Manupeu because it's separation. So I think this is need for further study, for example, in genetic, so we can determine which is genetic in the population in Laiwangi Wangameti forest area or in Manupeu is different or not. So I think we can also introduce the cockatoo or hornbill from the Manupeu to the Laiwangi, or from the Laiwangi to the Manupeu, to enhance their genetic. I think that's the further study that we can go.
Thank you very much, Pak Oki, for the answers, and good luck with your study. And still, we have 1 or 2 minutes. If there is any clarifications needed, or comments, or questions. Okay, thank you, Pak Oki. Good luck with your study, and thank you for presenting it to us. Very fruitful for us. We can learn a lot from you as well. And I will go to the next speaker, which is Ibu Wulandari, which replaced Ibu Danadira. Ibu Wulandari, the floors and the time is yours. You have 20 minutes all in all with questions and answers. Yes, please, Ibu. Thank you.
Let me share my screen. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you all. Today, I would like to present our research. Firstly, let me introduce myself. My name is Wulandari. Me and my team is Pak Irman Harmadi and Mr. Danadira. We are conducting the research about the development of protected birds in the identification system using convolutional neural networks. We are came from ITB University. So this is the introduction. Indonesia is a mega biodiversity area with variety of flora and fauna. As you know, we are maybe in the second of the mega biodiversity from the 17 countries, and we have a lot of flora and fauna. However, the flora and fauna are kept traded or hunted by humans, and also there is a deforestation there. So the result of this act is population decline of the some species. Because of that, this act needs to be stopped. Indonesia itself has several legal umbrellas to preserve the animals in wildlife, such as the Government Regulation number 7 in 99, then the Government Regulation in number 5 in 19, and then Minister of Environment and Forestry of Republic Indonesia with Regulation number 20. It also has several umbrellas for the law, and we also have the regulation with number 7 in 99. Indonesia classifies the species that need to be protected ones with 3 characteristics, which are smart population, a sharp decline of the population in wildlife, and endemic. It also regulates the prohibition for keeping, owning, or trading protected species. In the death list, around 562 of the 19 species as listed are birds. That's why in this research, we are focusing in birds. In the previous application, in previous research, there is an application called as wild scan. This application is identify the species by using the morphological. So the user need to input the morphological features such as scales, fur, or feathers, or the skin of the animals that seen. Then the application identifies species based on the questionnaire. This application have limited because the user need to write the morphological features. And others in the previous research, there is Huang and Basanta using CNN. They performed using SVM to identify the endemic birds in Taiwan. And the Biswas performed a mobile net pursuit for local bird identification in Bangladesh. And the Harjo, Seputro, and Yuda using mobile net to identify the protected bird species. In here, they have around 70% accuracy. So we are aiming for developing a web application that implement a convolutional neural network model by using image in protected bird species identification. The material and methods, we are collecting the data using several research. In here, we are focusing on the 10 protected bird species based on the regulation. And images are collected manually from eBird, Oriental Bird Image, and Google Image. The collection period is between April to June 2021. We have several criteria for the image that need to be collected. That are the images are relevant to the species name, and the classification subject appears clearly in the image, and we need to crop the image to the exact resolution like that. So as a sample, this is the image that did not fulfill the criteria because the bird over there is very small. So this kind of image is not used in this study. There is 10 species that used in this paper. We have black north stork, Balimina, Javan green, Java sparrow, palm cockatoo, red-headed trogon, green people, fairy pita, blue-banded kingfisher, and white-tailed flycatcher. So we are using these 10 species in this study. This is the name of the scientific name. And after that, we are doing data preprocessing, the collected image, then get edited because we need the aspect ratio 1:1. And we are doing pixel normalization and resize the image to this resolution. Then we are divided the data to data training, 80% for training, 10% for validation, and 10% for testing. Then we doing data augmentation with this kind of augmentation. So we are doing horizontal flip, vertical flip, brightness, width shift, height shift, shear, and zoom. So we are doing this because we want to make data as much variable in there. And this is the CNN, a brief introduction of CNN. CNN is a deep neural network because it's high depth of network. And we are using mostly CNN structure for feature extraction layer and classification layer. In here is depth-wise. Then we are using MobileNet version 2 here because it has a faster computational cost compared to the previous version. And this is our architecture of the CNN. So this is the image. We put the image to feature extractor of MobileNet version 2. Then we put in the fully connected layers, in hidden layers, and prediction layers. So we are using TensorFlow in Python here. So we are doing some optimizer here to find the best configuration of the model. This is the model testing, the evaluation that we use. We are using confusion matrix for the multi-class classification task. This is the sample of the multiplication confusion matrix. So it is the true positive, the gray one, and the yellow. Orange one is the false positive, and the red one is the false negative. Then after that, we are taking the accuracy, precision, and recall by using this formula. And we are also doing a web application development in order to make the user more easily to use the model. So the user just need to upload the image and the result will come out from the website. Here's the result. After we are doing the data collection and processing and partitioning, we obtain 400 image from the 40 image for each species. We are doing the data splitting for each species, 32 image for the training, and 4 image for validation, and 4 image for testing. And here is the sample of the editing. This is the first one, the image like this. Then we crop and resize the image to look in the right part one. And we are doing several data augmentation to enrich our data set. This is sample of the data augmentation. First, we are doing some brightness change and also width shift and the height shift. So it will be changed, and the zoom, shear like this, and the flip. So we have a lot of variation of the image from one image itself. Then this is the CNN model building, the architecture here. Firstly, we put the image here. This is the input and feature extraction. That is one handled by the MobileNet version 2. And fully connected layer using CNN in the next 3 layers here. So the output is 10 classification of the image. Here is the hyperparameters for the CNN model building. We are using them. Optimizer, and learning rate is 0.001. We have loss function categorical cross entropy with metric accuracy. The initial number of epoch is 100, and we are using early stopping here. Here is the result of the model training. As you can see here, this is the epoch and this is the accuracy. After 25 epoch around here, the accuracy is almost stable. So we are using this number, the epoch number, to do the classification for the last model. So the model itself later will be, we are using the most highest accuracy, the most good accuracy here. And based on that, the obtained model performance on training data, we have accuracy around 93% with loss 0.24. And on the validation data, we have accuracy 97%, so it's better than the previous research with loss 0.06. And this is the confusion matrix for the 10 classification. So based on that, on only one image from the 4 images that are categorized as the sikatan besar, categorized as Raja Udang Kalung Biru Jawa to sikatan besar. So this is the not corrected classified. The other one is classified correctly. And based on this confusion metric, this is that I've said before, only one have the false. So the precision and the recall, the blue-banded kingfisher has the precision 0.8, and recall for the white-tailed flycatcher is 0.75, with total accuracy is 97%, with precision is 98, and the recall is 97. So we are conclude that higher precision maybe make the lower false positive, and the higher recall will make lower false negative. And there is the result of the web application development with prototyping. So firstly, we are doing communication. We are communicating with the user or the client. The user want to observe and identify the species of the fawn protected bird. And they want to read the short description of the result of the bird species identification. So we conclude the task is uploading the image of the bird to the system. Then the system must be checking, user can checking the description of the identification result. Here is the quick plan model. This is the use case for the system. This is the observer. This is the previous result. Then this is our modeling quick design. We are using activity diagram. Firstly, the user need to select the image, then choose the image. Then the system will display the uploaded image and click identification button. And the system will predict the image based on the our model. Then we'll show the identification result. And the user need to check whether the description of the species is correct or not. This is a sample of the identification. So the user select this kind of image and then upload the image itself, then click the identification button. Then our system will show several candidates of the species with accuracy number here. So as you can see here, this is the Curik Bali. This new one is Curik Bali. So Curik Bali have the accuracy 99%, and sikatan besar here is 0%, sorry, and the Falk Widadari is 0% here. So the system will show the 3 highest possibility of candidates. So based on our testing, we can say that the system is working well. All of the use case is have successfully doing as the user wants. And this is our reference of our study. Thank you. That is all of my presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to give me or us. That's all.
Thank you very much, Ibu Wulandari, for a very, very interesting, again, presentations. And I believe that we all learned a lot from you. Thank you for good work, Bu Wulandari. We actually have around 7 minutes for questions and answers. If anybody wants to pose some questions, please feel free. And Ibu Wulandari, there is a questions already in the questions and answers. Are the local names of the bird species in this study different between regions in Indonesia? And then if so, how do you not throw away the informations? Because as far as I know, one of the unique things in Indonesia is related to the local naming of a species between regions, sometimes with different names. Probably we can start with that question, Ibu. Thank you.
Okay, the local names that we are used in our study is using the local names that are shown in our term regulation that I saw before. So we are following that name of Indonesian. So maybe there's also different names. So maybe it will be our consideration later to also give some alternative names of the name of the species itself, I think. So currently we are only following the regulation of the permit number 106. I think.
Thank you, Bu Wulandari. I think the questions is quite answered, I think, because I think how to incorporate the local names into the machine learning, right, Bu Wulandari? Thank you. Anyone else wants to ask something or asking for clarifications or even refuting? We still have roughly 6 minutes, 5 to 6 minutes. Then if not, let me ask you, Ibu, a little bit of questions. Super interesting, Ibu. You and your team are using CNN convolutional neural networks. And what I can imagine that you also need quite some many sources for the machine to learn, right? As a sources, right? Like the pictures of different species of the birds. If I may ask, Ibu, so those sources come from your field study, or you also collect from different sources? Like, for example, you ask the locals to take pictures, or you take from social media online, etc. So my questions would be, how do you provide the sources for the machines to learn? Thank you, Ibu Wulandari.
Thank you, Mr. Hirendra. So the current development, we are still using some pictures from the Google, like eBird or something like that, as said before. However, it will be better for us if we have the local pictures that obtained from the community, like birds community and others. So it will be make our model richer. So however, that is our future development matter. So in this first one, we are still only gathering from the Google.
Super, thank you, Bu Wulandari. It answers my questions. And yes, still we have 3 more minutes. Ibu and Bapak, ladies and gentlemen, if you still have, or if you have something to clarify or to ask to Ibu Wulandari and the team, please feel free. Okay, then I will move to the next speaker. Thank you very much, Ibu Wulandari, and looking forward for your next study book and your next paper, so we can learn a lot from you. And I will move to the next speaker, which is Bapak Misbah Patriagiri. Pak Misbah, you have thank you for attending, and thank you for willing to share your knowledge and experiences to us. We will learn a lot from you. You have 20 minutes all in all with questions and answers. Pak Misbah, time and floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hirendra. Let me share my screen. Okay. Have it shows?
Yes, thank you, Pak Misbah. It's in the 19th page, page 19 though.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Giri. Currently I work as a forest technician at Gunung Halimun Salak National Park. And today I'm going to present the result of our study last year. And the title is the utilization of spatial modeling to determine the wildlife release location in Gunung Halimun Salak National Park in 2021 to 2025. The background of this study is that there are many wild animal conflicts occur due to fragmentation habitat, hunting, or hobbies. As a result, the animals are injured or wounded. Some of these wounded or injured animals are saved and kept in the animal rescue center. Eventually, these wild animals need to be released. And Gunung Halimun Salak National Park, from this point onward, I'm going to refer is SGHSNP, has become one of the chosen areas for its release location. Based on standard operating procedure of release activity, before releasing wild animals into the wild, it is compulsory to do a habitat assessment. Although sometimes these activities become a hinder because habitat assessment is time-consuming and expensive, but it's still necessary to conduct it. The habitat assessment will provide information on location for the release of wild animals kept in the animal rescue center, so that the animals could go back into their natural habitat safely. We carry out the study in GSNP. As I mentioned earlier, GSNP has become one of the chosen areas to release wild animals. With area covered up more than 80,000 hectares, the park is dubbed as the largest habitat for wild animals in Java Island. To illustrate, these are the data of wild animals released in GSNP. During the period of 2018 to 2020, ER Foundation has released 65 Javan slow lories in GSNP, which consists of 20 in 2018, 17 in 2019, and 28 in 2020. And recently, in early November, ER Foundation has released 10 individuals of Javan slow lories in the area of GSNP. Another example is since 2015, Jakarta Nature Conservation Agency, or BKSDA Jakarta, has released various species of wild animals that include snakes, leopard cats, or weasels. The study aims to identify areas that are suitable for wild animals released in GSNP area in 5 years, from 2021 to 2025. This slide provides the illustration on how we conducted our study. First is data preparation, then the study to predict the location that are suitable for release. After that, we conducted a ground check to validate the data prediction, then a public consultation to receive input or correction if it needed, so that it could be implemented and replicated in other area. And this is the result. In data preparation, we collected all the animal meeting point data from 2009 to 2019. More or less, the data illustrates the distribution of of the species in GSNP. Then, we try to gather the environmental variable through study works of literature related to animal habit, behavior, and habitat. As a result, we have chosen some environmental variable that are varied for each species. We conducted the study by using 5 subspecies targets, which are Javan leopard, Javan gibbon, Javan slow loris, leopard cat, and Javan hockey gull. In the studies phase, we are conducting a spatial modeling by using Maxent software. This software will process the animal meeting point data and run them against the environmental variable. Thus, each animal meeting point data will have information on the environmental variable. For example, the height and the slope of the meeting point, of how far is the meeting point from a river or from road. Consequently, the tool will predict area that are similar to previous meeting point. This is the result of the spatial modeling. For Japan leopard, we use more or less 1,000 pinpoint.
Excuse me, Pak Giri. Your presentations is not full screen. Some of the participants are asking if you can make it full screen.
Sorry.
Yes, no worries, Pak.
Screen, please.
I thought it was in my screen, but actually.
Okay.
You probably can share screen again.
How about now? Wait. Maybe I have some signal problem.
Yes, no worries. Or probably you can send your presentations to the committee.
Wait.
Yeah. Well, yes, but it's not full screen yet. The button in the bottom right. Okay. Maybe
Okay.
if
So,
maybe you wanna send
okay.
the committee, then we can share screen from
Okay.
your from our computer.
My presentation to the chat, right?
Yes, to the chat, or yes, and then the committee, probably Pak Rizal or whoever, can share it. And excuse me, everybody.
I'm sorry for.
No worries. Yeah, things happen. Because we enjoy it a lot, but yeah, we cannot really see it.
I send the file to Miss Mary Silaban.
Thank you, Pak. Hopefully soon it will be screened, Ibu Mary.
And it's sent.
Yes. So how is it going, Ibu Mary? And our friends from the committee? Yeah, cool. I hope.
Nggak bisa juga.
So
the file is sent to this.
or probably you can try again, Pak Misbah, from
Okay.
Pak Gid, from your
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, no worries. Yeah, okay, better, Pak. Yeah, better,
Okay.
Pak. Good.
Okay.
Please continue, Pak.
Okay, this is the result of the spatial modeling for Javan leopard. We use more or less 1,000 pinpoint. AUC value is 0.886 with standard deviation 0.005, and so on and so forth. In particular for Javan soloris, we are using the pinpoint from release activities encountered direct or non-directly, and the result of radio tracking on the release Javan soloris by ear foundation. While for Javan hawk eagle, we are using the pinpoint of active nests that we found in DHSMP. So we only have 11 pinpoint for Javan hawk eagle. Oh, sorry. Next. Wow. Okay, this is my screen.
Yep, it's okay, Pak.
Yeah. This is the result of the spatial modeling. On the left is the distribution of meeting point, and on the right is the prediction of the location that are suitable for Javan leopard. And the most influential contribution value to the model consecutively is our food distribution, slope, and elevation. For here. Okay. These are the illustration of the location prediction for other species, which are species are different prediction of location of habitat suitability. After analyzing the habitat suitability area, we conducted other action, which are aggregating, smoothing, and eliminating by using GIS software to enhance the result visually. The final product of spatial modeling is habitat suitability for each species. To determine the prediction of release location, we eliminated the habitat that is suitable by using two criteria. The first criteria would be the minimal distance of release location is 500 meters or more from community settlement, while the second criteria would be the maximal distance is 2 kilometers from the road. We are using this notion to consider the officer's ability to carry the wild animals in the process of release. Okay, as we could see in the slide, the habitat suitable for Javan leopard is 47,619 hectares, and the prediction of release location is 21,391 hectares. Okay, and so on and so forth. The green depicts the habitat suitability for Javan leopard with a total area of 47,619 hectares, or 54% of the GHSNP, and the green with the black shades are the prediction of release location. It doesn't necessarily other places are not suitable as release location, but due to difficult access or other consideration. We determine the area in the red square, right here in the red square, as the location that we predicted could serve as release location for the next 5 years. These are the prediction of release location for other 4 species. This one for Javan gibbon, leopard cat, Javan hawk eagle, and Javan slow loris. After we conducted the study, we carried out the ground check or data validation. First, we want to confirm whether or not the suitable habitat for the target species is in good condition. Second, we collected vegetation and other animal that we found. Third, to assess the appropriateness of release location based on the comparison between the result of the study and the actual condition. Fourth, to record potential threats on the candidate of the release location. We were divided into 6 teams to cover the whole area, and this is the result. For this presentation, we are only going to show the data validation on Javan leopard. Based on the ground check, we found the indicator of the existence of Javan leopard in 26 of 38 grids. Pictured in the result of the analysis, the higher the value of pixel suitability, the higher the species target encountered on the field, and the ground check confirmed it. During our study, we realized that the study has several limitations. The first one, the data available is limited only to data on the animal present. We do not have data on the animal absent. That is one of the reasons why we utilize Maxent software. The second one, some of the target animals are limited and not distributed evenly because of the nature of the animal that includes secretive, cryptic, nimble, and live in the remote area. So in processing the data, we use biosecurity to correct it. We conclude that the study could answer the requirement for release location since the study identified release location that are suitable for 5 animal target species. We regard that the result of the study is applicable. We had implemented the result of the study on Javan hawk eagle, Javan soloris, and leopard cat. However, to minimize the potential new conflict raised due to release activity for territorial species such as Javan leopard and Javan gibbon, further studies such as the socioeconomy, the aspect of the community, or the density of the species in the area is needed. I think this is the end of my presentation. I would like to say thanks to all of the forest technicians of GSNP, Sintos Foundation, ER Foundation, as well as Javan Gibbon Research and Conservation Project. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Pak Giri, thank you very much for your interesting and enlightening presentations. We have 4 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, for asking questions to Pak Giri. If I can say a word, then Pak Giri has presented a very interesting approach of using spatial modeling to determine where to release the animals, right, Pak Giri? So please, ladies and gentlemen, if you have questions, please just throw it to the forum.
I hope there is no question for me.
Otherwise, I have questions, but I do have questions because I'm very interested in your methods. Before you mentioned about the use of 2 criteria of your study. So my question would be also related to the criterion, but and also related to your future directions of your studies or activities. The first one is which criterion that you used before, like do you design your models to be open for another criterion to be involved, but to be involved in the models? That's the first questions. And the second question is, again, like the previous speaker, I would like to ask if do you think of incorporating IoT, for example, Pak, Internet of Things, like sensors or whatever, into your future studies? Like, thank you very much, Pak.
Thank you, Mr. Irendra. May I answer with Indonesia so I can explain clearly?
Yes, please, Pak.
Oke, terima kasih.
And sorry, Pak. And there will be some, probably Mbak Mary or the team can directly write down the translations into English in the chat box, so our friends, our comrades from the other countries can learn. Thank you, Pak. Please do.
Oke, sebetulnya kriteria ini berlaku untuk semua spesies, Mas Irendra atau teman-teman. Jadi kenapa kita pakai 2 kriteria itu? Kriteria pertama itu jarak 500 meter dari pemukiman. Kita harapkan memang satwa yang kita rilis itu tidak kembali keluar kawasan atau dia tidak mengganggu pemukiman di sekitar lokasi rilis. Itu kenapa kita gunakan setidaknya paling sedikit 500 meter dari jarak kawasan. Yang kedua, kenapa kita pilih 2 km dari jalan? Karena memang kita pikir itu kemampuan petugas ketika mengangkat satwa untuk melakukan rilis. Jadi memang sampai saat ini tidak ada skema misalnya untuk macan tutul atau untuk satwa lainnya melepaskan satwa itu di tengah gunung yang agak jauh dari masyarakat pakai helikopter misalkan. Sehingga memang pilihan yang utama dengan mengangkut satwa secara manual. Dan sepertinya jarak 2 kilo itu jarak maksimal yang cukup, yang relatif efektif untuk apa namanya membawa si satwa itu tadi. Kurang lebih seperti itu. Jadi memang kriteria ini berlaku untuk semua satwa.
Thank you, Mas.
Tadi pertanyaan kedua gimana maksudnya, Mas?
My second question is about how do you think for your further research to combine with Internet of Things or sensors or drones or whatever, like you know, the technology, if you want. Thank you.
Terima kasih, Mr. Irendra. Saya pikir apa namanya rencana riset ke depan itu terbuka. Kami sangat-sangat ingin memanfaatkan teknologi yang ada saat ini sebetulnya. Walaupun memang di Halimun Salak sendiri mungkin belum banyak apa ya pengetahuan atau informasi terkait teknologi yang dapat membantu kami melakukan kajian-kajian terkait kebutuhan pengelolaan. Nah, drone misalkan itu dalam studi ini kita gunakan saat melakukan data validasi. Jadi untuk melihat apakah benar di lokasi itu tutupan hutannya masih bagus sebagaimana hasil model. Nah, kita mengkonfirmasi kondisi-kondisi itu juga dengan menggunakan drone misalkan. Dan saya pikir kami belum menggunakan internet karena mungkin kami belum tahu bagaimana mengkombinasikan apa yang sudah kami lakukan atau apa yang kami lakukan dengan teknologi-teknologi terbaru yang mungkin bisa digunakan. Terima kasih.
Thank you very much, Pak Giri.
Thank you, Mas Irendra.
One questions I will open before I move to the next speaker. Otherwise, I'll move. Okay, Pak Giri, thank you very much. And thank you. We learned a lot from you as well. And we hope there will be some collaboration between all of us here. So I will go to the next speaker, our friends from Costa Rica, I believe. Hola, Mr. Victor. And buenas tardes. And I hope we can learn a lot also from you there. And you have 20 minutes for presenting your work, Mr. Victor. And please, floors and time is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I just want to make sure everything is all right. Sorry for a bit.
In my screen, your presentations is deflected, like probably you can share again.
Okay, I'm gonna share again.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
There you go.
Perfecto. Gracias. Please.
Awesome. Okay, friends, I've been seeing a lot of people talking about large carnivore conservation, which is encouraging because I've been seeing a lot of colleagues doing really nice works out in Indonesia. I'm going to talk a bit about the work we have been done in Costa Rica. And I want to tackle a topic about camera trap site placement, especially in the dry forest. This is really important because, you know, like a lot of people use camera traps, but actually when you're using this method, it has a lot of shortcomings with regard to placement, you know, like the method, you know, many things that you've been using that probably can bias your results. So in order to like understand what we're talking about, this is the jaguar. You know, is the third largest feline species in the whole world. Actually, in Costa Rica, the jaguar is called el tigre, which means the tiger, same like you, which is not the right name for this species. But we also have camera traps here. You know, I remember the first time I hear about the camera trap, they use, Ullas Karan use this technique for tigers in India. So they adapt this technique for jaguars in order to estimate populations using capture-recapture techniques. But in Costa Rica, a lot of people love to use camera traps. You know, like there is a lot of initiatives using camera traps, but as I said before, it has a lot of shortcomings if you're not using the data as well as your design in the right way. For example, people use this technique for individual identification. If you take a look at the jaguars, same like tigers, you can identify individuals by the pattern of the spots, like in this case. So if you have clear photos of each side, and you have a lot of photos, you can run models. But, you know, like this thing pop up the idea about this kind of research that, you know, when we deploy cameras, we use animal paths, we use trails, we use roads, and they are different. But we also think about what about the non-random camera trap placement? It does mean a potential bias? I mean, also using water holes as well. You know, like we deploy cameras in so many different habitats, which means potential bias. But okay, let's talk about the study area. Costa Rica is in the middle of America. You know, it's a small country, but we belong to the tropical kind of forest as you guys. And you know, like we have like this kind of forest in the highlands. We have the rainforest, and we have the dry forest as well, which is one of the most endangered forest ecosystem in Central America. If you go to the northwestern of Costa Rica right here in the red circle, this is the place where the study area is located. So let's think about Guanacaste and Santa Rosa National Park. This is how this area looks like. This is a World Heritage Site as well, which is, you know, like is a double whammy thing because this is like double important place. This is how the dry forest looks like during the wet season. It's a highly seasonal forest, and actually this is something like, you know, like it's really important. It's like only 2% of the world forest are dry forest ecosystem. Only one of that is located in Central America. If you can take a look at how the seasonal ecosystem works in terms of precipitation, we have like 4 months that everything dried out, and then from May to November, the rains start again. Just to take a look how the seasonal ecosystem look like, let's take a look at this picture. This is during the dry season, and then three or 4 months later, looks like this. A completely different place. It's the same place, but it looks completely different. So in terms of ecology, it means like animals as well as ecological nets will change a lot. So this is one of the most important things here, that jaguars also have competitors like the pumas, we have coyotes, and we also have ocelots. But at the same time, we're dealing with prey. In this ecosystem, we have the white-tailed deer, which is one of the most important prey for jaguar species. We have the agouti. We have tapirs as well. We have bird species, not as nice as the one you have, guys, but this is something similar, the great curassow. And then the colored peccary. Those are the main prey of jaguars. So let's think about how the random placement that reduce bias related to things like species interactions, prey and competitors, locations, activity patterns, and sex ratio, and how this can be affected, you know, the abundance estimates. So in order, you know, we run a pair design. In this design, you can see the honeycombs right here. On each honeycomb, we deploy a camera in a random place, and we deploy a camera in a trail location. So at the end, we got 29 cameras deployed at off-trail location, and we got 29 cameras deployed on on-trail location. So we ran this study like 3 years ago, but we got really interesting results with this. At the end, we got 19,408 trap nights. We have 12,678 independent photo events. I forgot to say what is an independent photo event. For example, if we got 10 photos of, I don't know, agoutis during 30 minutes, we count as one independent event because we don't have the power to identify whether it's the same or a different individual, we standardize the whole data like that. We identify 64 species of amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. And at the end, we analyze only 10 bird species and 19 mammal species that each has more than 10 independent records. So those are the models we use. We use GLM models, assuming Poisson distribution, and we run this relative abundance index that was the number of photos divided between 100 trap nights. This is the most used. So we run 5 models. The one that is the intercept only, which means not effect. The other one means like the effect of seasonality, as well as the sample effect. And the other one was only the location. The 4th one was the seasonality plus the location in the additive way. And the 5th one and the last one was the effect of seasonality interacting with location. But at the end, you know, from this bunch of species we analyzed, we only found 9 species that they were influenced by location. If you take a look at these species, you know, like location does matter. So this is a big deal, as well as seasonality also matter for these species. The one that was really influenced by off-trail location the most was the armadillo. But you can see the jaguar was also influenced by the location of the traps. So when we compare jaguars and pumas, we find in this graphic that they both share the same places. But if we take a look at the temporal distribution, it seems like they avoid each other. If you take a look to the right, you can see that on trail location and off trail location, they behave quite the same. Pumas avoid jaguars, but they stay at off trail location and trail location. If we take a look at a relationship between jaguar and their prey, for example, the white-tailed deer case, you can see this is quite the same. We have the same species in the same places, but if you go to the right side, you can see on the trails that white-tailed deer is usually more active during the time of the day where jaguars become less active, which means the same pattern of avoidance between prey and predator. Let's talk about peccaries. If you see same pattern, they share the same areas, but if you take a look at this is interesting because if you see on the trail location, they use the most the trails when jaguars are not active. And if you go to the off-trail location, you see that they behave quite the same. You know, the overlap is like, it's pretty high between both species, but at trail locations, it's like about 21%. But let's talk about the effect, you know, like, I don't know if that happened the same with tigers, but at least with jaguars, people talk about female, you know, if you want to take pictures of females, sometimes at trail locations, it's pretty rare. Most of the time you can see males. So, but if you take a look at these graphics, you can see that at off-trail locations, the males use the most, the peak of the males is between 18 and the 24, you know, like most of the night, and seems like the females avoid the males at a trail location. And if you see the trail location, they use quite the same in terms of temporal distribution, which means that probably they can gather at these places. So this is interesting. But at the end, what are the take-home lessons from this study? And the conclusion we got is like, trap location affect photo rays of many species, including jaguar. So trap location is important. You can bias your study, and errors in distribution assessment can be happening pretty often. So pumas show temporal but not spatial avoidance with jaguars regardless of the location. And jaguar prey show temporal avoidance of jaguars regardless of the location. So we also found a lower proportion of males at off-trail locations. You know, if you compare females and males, at least for jaguars, we identify that females use the most off-trail location. With that support, the theory that people said about why females avoid trails, which is interesting. So at the end, this has a really strong implication for sex species density estimates. So it's something we have to take into account, and sometimes the camera trap assessment miss. I want to show you like this picture, for example. This is a water hole during the dry season, and here you can see a jaguar is chasing peccaries at this spot. I don't know if this jaguar caught the peccaries, but at the end, it's a really good insight of things that have going on in these kind of places. So that's everything I have. I just want to say thank you to everyone, and I'm open to your questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Montalvo. Super interesting presentations and study you did with your team. Thank you very much. And then if I can say something, then Dr. Montalvo has shown us about the importance of place locations of camera trap in dealing with biases that might occur, right? So this is exactly what Dr. Montalvo told us. And then we still have 7 minutes roughly, friends and colleagues, to ask him or to, you know, confirm, you ask for confirmations or even to refute him if you want. Please do. Floor is open. Otherwise, may I ask you, Dr. Montalvo?
Okay, go ahead. We're open.
I'm super interested. Thank you very much. I'm super interested in 3 things basically from your presentations. First, just very basic questions. How do you usually fetch the images, Dr. Montalvo? Like you put cameras, right, in different locations, right? And you have, to some extent, you have to, every now and then, you have to fetch, you have to gather the photos, right? So how do you usually do it? That's first. And then the second one, you mentioned about identifying the species, right? After you have the photos, right? Have you ever thought, or probably you are working on it with your team, of using AI again, machine learning or artificial intelligence to help us to identify? And also the third one, I'm super interested also when you conclude that about the jaguar and puma dynamics interactions. Probably you and your team already thought about incorporating behavioral science into your study? Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for this question. So in the first hand, when we're talking about dealing with this, you know, like dealing with this amount of data, sometimes it's complicated. Most of the time we have a lot of, you know, I work for the national university. So in our project, we have students working with us. So hand by hand, people identify each picture of each animal. The term of, you know, like doing the database management, oh my God, it's a lot of information. Sometimes you have, for example, the worst thing is keep working with videos, but videos at the same time give you tons of information because, as you said before, you can get behavioral data as well. That sometimes this behavioral data is still not analyzed because it demands a lot of people keep working on this, which is interesting. We've been working before, like 4 years ago, with a group of computer scientists from the University of Massachusetts. They were developing models for identify species using neuronal networks and machine learning. But at some point, you know, like this is the critical point. Like computer scientists, they know pretty well how to run this model. They know how to feed this model. But the next step, when you need to wrap up this program to be like open, this is the tough part because, you know, like programs all the time have a lot of bugs and they want it like to be perfect. So for us, it was great being collaborating with these guys, but at the same time, you know, what the camera trap community needs is more like kind of these tools, you know, like in order to make sure that you have like pretty precise information as well as useful. And talking about behavioral things, you know, this is really important because most of the time when we analyze data, we love to run modeling, you know, like in order to understand ecological relationships, but sometimes we do miss the biological part. And this is like the chicken and egg approach. What was first? If we are interested in understanding jaguar distribution, the most important is understanding where the prey are. If they have shelters enough in order to have prey, and if we have prey, probably we will have like healthy population of jaguars. I think it's the same approach like one of the presenters talked about tigers, the Sumatra tigers. So this is really, really important. And then at the end, we may have to be like more analytical as well as thinking about how good our statistical and field design should be in order to have, you know, like really good data, because this data is useful for decision making. And this is our first approach, like getting the best data we can get in order to do the better management actions we can recommend it for environmental authorities, like you guys said before.
Thank you very much, Dr. Montalvo. Totally agree with you. Sometimes those guys are good in coding, but we need more than coding, right? We need something more applicability and precise. Thank you. We still have 2 minutes, well, 1 minute actually, friends and colleagues. If still you have some, you know, questions and confirmations needed to be clarified, please throw it to Dr. Montalvo. No? Okay. Dr. Montalvo, thank you very much. I believe we learned a lot from you, and good luck for your research, and we're waiting for your next papers or next reports on science. Looking forward, will be useful for us all here. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you guys for being connected.
Thank you. And I'll move to the next speaker, which is our last speaker for these sessions, I believe, Pak Kiki. Pak Kiki, welcome. So Pak Kiki, as also the other speakers have, you have 20 minutes all in all for presenting and question and answers. Pak Kiki, the floor and time is yours, please.
Thank you, Mr. Irendra. I'm the last finalist. I'm really nervous because this is my first time experience in international conference. Sorry, about my voice is clear? Hello, Mr. Irendra?
Yes, please.
It sound good?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Well, we haven't seen your screen though, or?
Okay. I will share screen my presentation. How about my screen?
I haven't seen your screen, Pak. In my screen, I don't know the others.
Okay, I will repeat.
Yes, Pak. We can see it now. Probably if you can make it full screen would be better for us.
Is there a screen? Yes?
Yes, yes, it's good now for us.
Okay.
But maybe if you can make it full screen would be lovely, Pak.
Wait a minute.
Or otherwise, we can continue probably. We can see it. No worries.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon. All the participants, honorable and ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Kiki. I'm currently presenting for my team. On this occasion, I would like to convey about my research. Entitled Estimating Species Status and Relative Abundance of Medium Mammals Using Camera Trap in Gunung Merbabu National Park. The outline is background, then number 2, objective, number 3 is method, number 4 is result, number 5 is conclusion. The backgrounds, the first is dynamic of physical change in the area, forest fire, hurricane disaster, and the second, that the database of mammal species diversity has not been optimally, and the third, structural mammal database is still in need for the Gunung Merbabu National Park management. The objective, the first is diversity and the distribution of mammals, and the second is relative abundance of each mammal species. This is some picture of our observation areas.
Excuse me, Pak Kiki.
Yes.
In our screen, I think your slide doesn't change.
Oh,
so it stays only in the first page.
Okay.
Thank you, Pak Kiki.
How about
now
this one?
Okay. Yes, good. It's okay.
Okay. I will repeat from objective. The first is diversity and distribution of mammals, and the second is relative abundance of each mammal species. This is our some pictures of observation areas, and then this is our team activity for camera trap installation. And any method, Gunung Merbabu National Park has 3 monitoring sites for data collection of mammal using camera traps. In 2020, 15 camera trap has been installed at this location with consideration including the first is animal footprints, and then faces, vegetation, and the last is topography. Provision of camera trap installation. The first is mountain rides trail, open areas. The second, camera view barrier, plant cleaning. The third is setting and making sure the camera trap works well. The fourth is test point view. The 5 is camera trap hikes 13 until 15 centimeters from the ground. We analyze the result of camera traps using DigiCam and our studio application. Present diversity of mammals and their distribution, and second, relative abundance of each type of mammals. This is we are types of wildlife called by camera traps. There are Maca fascicularis, and then kijang or muncak. There's kucing or cats, Perennialus vegarensis. Next is dogs, Canis lupus familiaris. Rekan or suri Jawa, Plebitis comata PDC. Landak, Histrik javanica. Result of diversity and distribution of mammals. The monitoring site in WECMIC contains is about 7 mammals. They are lutung, and then kucing, Perennialus vegarensis, Macaca fascicularis, Motiacus muncak, and the last is dog, Canis lupus familiaris. The site monitoring in Solo contains is about 6 mammals. They are lutung budang or Trapicus aureatus, and then Histrik javanica, Perennialus vegarensis, Macaca fascicularis, and the last is kijang is Motiacus muncak. The site monitoring at Candisari includes the lutung budang, Tresipiatus auratus, and then Landak Histrik javanica. Kucing or cats is Perennialus vegarensis, and then Macaca fascicularis, Motias mansuk ucak. Dogs is Canis lupus familiaris, rekan or suri Jawa, Plebitis comata. The conclusion: diversity and distribution of mammals, WECMIC. Yes. Sorry, this is the relative abundance index inside monitoring of WECMIC. The highest value is Macaca fascicularis. The value is 0.43, and the lowest is Canis lupus familiaris. The similar value with Perennialus vegarensis is 0.014, and then the relative abundance index inside monitoring of Candisari, the highest value is Macaca fascicularis. The value is 0.47, and for the lowest is Motiacus muncak is 0.0078, and also similar with value with lutung budang is Traphicatus auratus 0.0078. The relative abundance index and site monitoring in slow, the highest value is still Macaca fascicularis, and for the lowest is cat Cornelius bugalensis. The point is 0.11. The conclusion: diversity and distribution of mammals in three areas, Wokas, Solo, and Candisari, yes, has many similar mammals, like lutung budang, and then cats, Perillus bugalensis, and the famous mammal is like Macaca fascicularis. It's almost in every areas in Gunung Merbabu National Park. You can find it. The relative abundance index, the highest at site monitoring Wakasolo Candisari is Macaca fascicularis, and then the lowest is kucing cokok Perillus bugalensis, and also dog Canis lupus familiaris. And at slow is kucing congkok, Prionelaius bugalensis. At Candisari is kijang, Mujiatus muncak, and lutung budang, Traphicatus cereus auratus. Okay, thanks everyone. That's my presentation. I'm sorry, I'm a little late. Yes, I hope can be useful. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pak Kiki, for your presentations. I hope that we all can enjoy and also learn from your presentations. If I can say some words on your presentations, that you're demonstrating how to estimate the abundance of different species in your area of work in Taman Nasional Merbabu. And yes, we still have around 5 to 6 minutes for questions, for confirmations, etc. I open the floor for for everybody to confirm to us, Pak Kiki, please. Then I'll try to ask, not I'll try, I want to ask you something, Pak Kiki. Let me ask you.
Okay.
As far as I can follow your presentations, I can imagine that you use a camera trap, right?
Yes.
Trap. So I would like to know, how do you proceed the data from the camera? Do you identify those species manually, or you are using computers, or I don't know? Can you probably explain to us how do you proceed further? How you analyze the data from the camera? Thank you, Pak.
Okay, I will try to answer the question. There are 15 camera traps, and then every month we take the data from camera traps, and then we put in the application in computers using DigiCam, and then we analyze more using the RStudio. Then after that we can get the result of our analyze, like as our title, we can the result is estimating richness, species richness, and relative abundance. This is our analysis for the mammals and the medium mammals, especially for medium mammals. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Kiki. So you mentioned that you use also RStudio or R, then I can imagine that you code on your own. So you develop your algorithm, let's say. Thank you. There is a question, Pak. I would like to ask Pak Kiki. There's a question from the chat. I'd like to ask Pak Kiki, there are some dogs detected. Is it because of the survey locations near a village, or this is a sign there are access for people coming in and coming out the national park, or probably illegal?
There is a domestic dog because maybe in Gunung Merbabu National Park it's nearly from village, and the dog is live at the national park, and then can hunter the others mammals for the prey, the mammals.
Okay, so most probably the domesticated dogs, right? Yeah. Okay, thank you. So anyone else who would like to ask something to Pak Kiki, or even to the previous speakers if you want? We still have 2 minutes actually left. Okay, then if there's no other questions, thank you very much, Pak Kiki, for sharing your experiences and knowledge here for us. Thank you, Pak Kiki. And yeah.
You're welcome.
We wish you good luck with your further activities and further research and further works. And we are looking forward for your next sharings as well, next shares as well. And before I return back to the committee, I don't want to conclude anything, but I would like to thank all of you, the panelists, and also the attendees. I personally learned a lot, and what I want to say is that behind technology is at the end a human being, right? So we can use any methods, any technology, any algorithm, but at the end, what also matters is the knowledge behind and the science behind. So that's what I can take from these sessions. And again, thank you. And I'm really looking forward to read all your papers or reports or everything. I will make sure I will follow you all, your study all. Thank you. So thank you again. And I'll return it to the committee. Thank you, Ibu Mary.
Pakai ini nggak bisa tampilannya.
So I believe our friends in the committee will send you some list where you can fill your names and contact for I believe having the certificates for attending these meetings. And I don't know, probably they will put it in the chat room. And yes, again, I thank you all, and I will return the time to the committee. Thank you, Ibu Mary.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Iranda. And I would also like to thank the participants as well as our viewers who stayed with us throughout the session. I hope that today's discussion has opened a new insight to us all. We'll have a break before we continue with our new session, and we'll resume at 2 p.m. with expert talks. This is all for this session. I would like to apologize if there's any mistakes or inconveniences. Mohon maaf apabila terdapat salah kata, mohon undur diri. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Indonesia is one of the largest archipelagic countries in the world, with more than 17,000 islands that spread over an area of more than 2 million kilometer squares. Indonesia is host to several unique ecosystems containing a large number of diverse species. At least 10% of the world's flowering species, which counts to over 25,000 species, flourish in Indonesia. There are also 12% of the world's mammals, 16% of reptiles, 17% of birds, 6% of amphibians, and over 45% of fishes, all of which are parts of the nation's lush biodiversity. In order to preserve its biodiversity, which also contributes hugely to the world, Indonesia has taken significant steps in accordance to the national and global target on biodiversity framework. The government has allocated more than 500 units of protected area spread throughout the country, with the total coverage area of 22 million hectares terrestrial and 20 million marine protected area. Because of its uniqueness and universal values, 6 protected areas are recognized as World Heritage Sites, 16 biosphere reserves, 7 Ramsar sites, and 7 ASEAN Heritage Sites. Many studies and researches has also been conducted to identify plants and animals to assess their potential uses for medicine, food, energy, and biocontrol for chemical hazard. Some community-driven activities such as ecotourism has also contributed to the effort to preserve Indonesia's biodiversity, which also encouraged cooperation among local stakeholders. The results are heartening. By 2019, Indonesia has been able to increase the population of endemic and priority species. Communities have also enjoyed benefits from this improved environment through ecotourism, environmental services, and other significant conditions, which contribute to their quality of life as a whole. There is little doubt that Indonesia's vast biodiversity plays a hugely significant role in reducing the impacts of climate change. By preserving its biodiversity and its ecosystems, Indonesia can help support the entire planet's sustainability and ensure a better future for all humankind.
Sejarah Fakultas Kehutanan. UGM resmi didirikan pada tanggal 19 Desember 1949 dan merupakan universitas yang bersifat nasional. Selain itu, UGM juga berperan sebagai pengemban Pancasila dan sebagai universitas pembina di Indonesia. Pada saat didirikan, UGM hanya memiliki 6 fakultas dan salah satu di antaranya adalah Fakultas Pertanian. Dalam perkembangan selanjutnya, melalui Surat Keputusan Menteri Perguruan Tinggi dan Ilmu Pengetahuan Nomor 99 Tahun 1963, Fakultas Pertanian dan Kehutanan UGM terpisah menjadi 3 fakultas, yaitu Fakultas Pertanian, Fakultas Teknologi Pertanian, dan Fakultas Kehutanan. Dengan demikian, Fakultas Kehutanan UGM secara resmi dinyatakan berdiri pada tanggal 17 Agustus 1963. Dekan pertama Fakultas Kehutanan UGM adalah Profesor Insinyur Sudarwono Hadjosudiro. Berdasarkan SK Direktur Jenderal Pendidikan Tinggi, SK Dirjen Dikti nomor 163 tahun 2007 tentang pengaturan program studi dan Surat Keputusan Rektor nomor 89 tahun 2010 tanggal 1 Februari 2010 mensahkan perubahan keempat program studi di Fakultas Kehutanan menjadi satu dengan nama program Studi Kehutanan. Program Studi Kehutanan terdiri dari 4 bagian, yaitu 1. Departemen Manajemen Hutan, 2. Departemen Silvikultur, 3. Departemen Teknologi Hasil Hutan, dan 4. Departemen Konservasi Sumber Daya Hutan. Di Fakultas Kehutanan terdapat Dewan Perwakilan Mahasiswa atau DPM yang berperan sebagai badan legislatif mahasiswa dan lembaga eksekutif mahasiswa atau LEM. Kemudian terdapat 4 himpunan mahasiswa minat. Di antaranya yaitu Keluarga Mahasiswa Manajemen Hutan atau KMMH, Himpunan Mahasiswa Budidaya atau HIMABA, Family of Forest Product Technology atau Foresttech, dan Family of Forest Conservation atau Forestation. Di samping itu, terdapat Badan Semi Otonom atau BSO yang meliputi organisasi pencinta alam atau Mapala Silvagama, Komunitas Seni Kehutanan atau KSK, Keluarga Mahasiswa Islam Kehutanan atau KMIK, dan Forestry Study Club atau FSC. Sedangkan International Forestry Student Association atau IFSA dan Keluarga Mahasiswa Kristen Kehutanan atau BONITA termasuk ke dalam non-BSO.
FFI bekerja di Indonesia sejak tahun 1996. Itu awalnya bersama dengan LIPI untuk melakukan penelitian-penelitian, terutama penelitian terkait dengan harimau Sumatera. Kemudian berkembang, kemudian kita ada kerjasama dengan Kementerian Lingkungan Hidup dan Kehutanan, waktu itu Kementerian Kehutanan, terkait dengan pengelolaan spesies-spesies yang dilindungi. Tantangan terbesarnya adalah kata kuncinya sebenarnya kepedulian. Ya, kata kuncinya adalah kepedulian. Kalau semua sudah peduli, maka secara umum sebenarnya pekerjaannya sudah done. Tapi masalahnya itu, bagaimana kita mendorong semua pihak untuk peduli menyelamatkan planet kita ini bersama-sama. Itu tantangan yang paling besar. Kearifan lokal masyarakat juga sangat penting di sana. Jadi di lain pihak kita melihat ada ancaman, tapi di lain pihak juga kita melihat ada kearifan masyarakat untuk menjaga hutannya. Nah, itu yang kita coba untuk dorong untuk dikembangkan ke sana. Planet kita ini yang sustaining the planet, itu jangka panjang paling panjang kita. Jadi itu tujuan jangka panjang keberadaan FFI. Bukan hanya di Indonesia, tapi di dunia.